Hey, it's Dusty with yet another story for you. This one is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Laughing in My Sister-in-Law's Face When She DNA Tested My Daughter? I, 30 male, have a daughter who's 6. I am not biologically related to her at all. There's no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for most all of my childhood. We were never involved romantically, and we were always just friends. She had her daughter at 23 with her 25-year-old husband. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months technically, both her mother and father were... Damn. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was a workplace shooting. My friend and her husband had both worked in the same building and were both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families and didn't have any siblings, so there weren't any next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I had been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care or around people who didn't have a connection to her bio parents, so I stepped in. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter, biologically speaking. My daughter, I'll call her Lily for the post, also knows that she's adopted. I've never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows her parents are dead and were killed by a bad man, but I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and biological dad. Most people assume that I'm her bio dad and that she just took after her mom. I don't ever really correct them when and if people assume this because it just becomes unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiance for about 2 years now. A few weeks ago, we were all meeting up at my parents' house and my sister-in-law saw an old picture of me, my friend, and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was, and I explained that was Lily's mother. Sister-in-law got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows my friend died, but I guess didn't know that she had been married or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed my daughter was mine and my friend's biological daughter. My sister-in-law got a DNA test done on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test, and when it came back that they aren't related, she knew that meant me and Lily weren't related. She came up to me with the results and waved them in my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing at this. I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red and she stormed off. My brother is mad that I embarrassed his fiance, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers and then parading the results to me. What did she want me to do? What was her goal with all this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother said she thought she was doing the right thing and called me an asshole. I don't feel like an asshole, especially considering my sister-in-law was the one who stuck her nose where it didn't belong. I'm asking for Reddit opinions, mostly just for validation. So, was I the astronaut? We do have an update. Before we get to that, thoughts here. How did OP's brother at no point stop her from doing this dumbass thing? That's my big question right now. Why did he not be like, hey, why are you doing that? I can tell you the story. Because your brother surely knows the story. There's no way he doesn't. And yeah, what was her end game? What was the goal? What was the goal? Like she was trying to protect you by letting you know you were taking... What? She think you were just gonna go drop the kid off at the fire station? Like what? What? Sounds like an internet sleuth. And she just caught a clue and she couldn't help herself. She had to chase it down. You know what I mean? She just had to chase it down. Dr. Sweets think she took the DNA behind the brother's back too, which is right? She did this behind her, what was it, fiance or wife? But to go behind your partner's back? So she knew she was doing something wrong. She knew it. Let's dive into the update. Update. My sister-in-law ended up coming to my house and apologizing, as well as telling me the full story. My brother put her up to the DNA test. What? Okay. Color me confused. When I first adopted Lily, my brother for some reason believed that Lily was my bio daughter. He thought that me and Lily's mom were together and just weren't telling anyone. He believes that when she got pregnant, Lily's mom told me that Lily was mine and that she was just going to say that it was her husband's, and I went along with it because I didn't really want kids. Sister-in-law was under the impression that I believed I was Lily's bio dad. She saw the picture of Lily's mom and I, and after asking for clarification on who she was, assumed we were together in it, and then got suspicious when she saw that other guy in the picture, Lily's actual bio dad, who looked a lot like Lily. I also want to clarify, I did not tell her that Lily's bio dad was in the picture because she had specifically pointed to Lily's mom, and I assumed she knew that Lily was adopted. I didn't know my brother had been telling her lies for nearly 2 years. She got the DNA test out of her own suspicions, and my brother helped her with it because he thought it would reveal that I was actually Lily's bio dad. He manipulated her into thinking that it would clear the air of suspicion, when really he was just trying to prove that I was really Lily's bio dad and lying about the reasons for adoption. Well, of course, the results proved that I wasn't Lily's bio dad and that my brother was wrong. My brother felt too embarrassed to confess to his fiancée that he had lied about the circumstances, which is why sister-in-law confronted me with the results. My sister-in-law also apologized for showing me the results in front of my daughter. She told me that her mom had an affair and cheated on her father, got pregnant with another man's kid, and had let her father believe the kid was his. Her father was devastated by this when he found out, and she grew very resentful of women who do that to their spouses. She had wanted to sit down and talk to me about it without my daughter, but when she saw me with my daughter, she got angry, thinking that I was being led on to believe that I was raising my daughter when I was actually raising another man's kid. And she ended up exploding and immediately waved the results on my face. My sister-in-law does feel very guilty, and she's angry at my brother for lying to her. I'm not angry at her for doing the test because she thought she was doing the right thing. I also forgave her for the way she told me about the results because clearly affairs are a sensitive subject for her, and I can understand why she would have exploded like that. I'm pretty sure she plans to break up with my brother now, and I don't blame her. When I called and asked my brother about this, he admitted it. When I asked why he would think this, he said that he couldn't think of a reason why a man who had been against having kids at the time would willingly adopt a baby without having a blood connection to it.
Because good people don't exist.
Yeah. I just can't imagine taking care of another man's kid. Okay, side note here. He's about to get dumped. So like he's gonna meet people who have kids, and he's immediately just gonna be like, "Oh, I could never love kids. It's not mine." The emotional depth is it's just wild. It's wild. So deep, there's some creatures living down there. He told sister-in-law that I was Lily's bio dad and was aware of the fact. He took it a step further and said that me and Lily's mom were together at the time of Lily's conception. Both me and my parents are going low contact with my brother for a while now. I know I will forgive my brother eventually, but I can't do that right now. He believed I was low enough to have an affair with a married woman, get her pregnant, take no responsibility, allow her to pass off the kid as another man's, and then only take responsibility because her mom died. Well, it's because he assumed that you're as big of a piece of shit as he is. You're blood connected, right? How could you take care of a filthy bug? He believed you were as big of a piece of shit as he is. That's the only explanation here. Because he doesn't understand it, right? And what do people do to things they don't understand? They immediately paint them as false or evil. So this was a big lie. And even then, what if the test had come out that she was yours? What does that accomplish? Nothing changes except for his ego and pride swell a little bit. He gets an ego boner. Is that what happens? And that's it? In game? Cool. Good job, dude. He gambled his relationship and yours with your child because he cared more about being right than the good of people, than the good of human beings, than people's feelings, than anything. He cared more about him being right than anything else. And that's why he's an ass bag who will never be able to have a relationship where children are involved, period. Because he only cares about himself and he's willing to risk everything else. I don't know, it just doesn't make any freaking sense. It just, like, people being willing to meddle and just destroy things. And what he did to his poor girlfriend, wow. Like, he's willing to manipulate anybody just to prove a point. And she got made to feel like an absolute asshole because he lied to her, and he accepted that risk going into it. So no one is safe around this jabroni.